I'd like to call to order the Wednesday, January 8th, 2025 Board of Trustees meeting. Zoom meeting access will be provided to the public only if remote attendance by a trustee under AB 2440 is approved by the board in item 2.3 on this agenda.
Approval.
Have a second?
Second the motion.
All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Okay, moving along to the, let's see. We're up to 2.3. Oh, we have to do 2.2 roll call. Trustee Davis got ahead of me there and did the motion before I asked, which was pretty good. I appreciate that. So we've already done 2.3, but now we have to do 2.2. We got a little out of order.
Okay, so for the record, student trustee Castrejón is not attending this portion of the meeting. Trustee Aguilar. Trustee Beggs will be absent today. Trustee Davis. Trustee Garrett.
Present.
Vice President Nicolau.
Here.
And then Board President Richards.
Here,
And,
do I go ahead and, do I need to read 2.3,
Um,
even though we approved it? Okay. Trustee Nancy Hinton made the request to attend the board meeting remotely under emergency circumstance AB 2449. Trustee Hinton? Does she need to say something?
So I didn't know
For
if you were
approval.
going to vote again. Yeah,
Okay,
okay.
I second the motion.
all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Great, okay. Now we move on to,
Let me get her in the room. So if you can ask Trustee Hinton.
Trustee Hinton, it's our understanding you wish to participate by Zoom. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Is there anyone else in the room with you?
Yes, there is.
Okay,
Same person as always.
very good. Okay, well, we've already voted, so we're good.
Thank you.
Moving on to statement 2.4, are there any statements of conflict? Any public comments? 2.5. With that, we'll move to we'll move to a closed session. Would you please tell us what we're going to talk about in closed session?
The board will adjourn to closed session to discuss items 3.1 through 3.5 listed in the January 8th regular meeting closed session agenda. The board will adjourn at 3:05.
See you after the closed session.
Testing, testing. It's a little. I'm bringing you your microphone so you can. Your karaoke song. Say we are muted. Testing, 1, 2, testing, testing, and testing. I've got a secret. Because that's how you do it. Helping me. Big left, right. Okay, that side, huh? Testing. All right, there you go. It's all you. You got a captive audience.
Karaoke audience. You never close your eyes.
Testing. So tell me, do you share with the council?
I'd like to call the Wednesday, January 8th, 2025 Board of Trustees regular meeting, which happens to be the 700th and 18th regular meeting. Could I ask for the, let's see, call to order? Roll call, please. Yeah, I was looking for that. I thought so. Trustee Garrett, could you lead us in the pledge?
Absolutely. Ready, begin. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Madam Stenographer, could we have a roll call, please?
Student trustee Castrejon.
Present.
Just a reminder to turn on mics. Trustee Aguilar.
Present. I don't know if they're trying to tell me something though.
I should notice that he has taken a shower. There aren't any problems. I was going to move him, but I'm reminded that the name tags are there, so.
I'm not buying it though. Something is going on.
And it wasn't meant for trustee Aguilar.
I think it was Sal Graciela.
Trustee Davis,
Present.
trustee Garrett,
Present.
trustee Hinton,
He's there.
I'll come back to you. Vice President.
Yeah, here.
Okay, thank you.
Present.
President Richards,
Yes, thank you very
quorum
much.
is established.
Okay, next to 2.3, the Board of Trustees approves the governing board members' request for participation in the board meeting virtually, remotely, citing the just cause or emergency circumstance provision. Oh, I forgot to say there's no report out of closed session. Sorry about that. Okay, moving on, 2.4, statements of conflict.
Me, I think, maybe. I don't know.
No conflicts?
There's no resolution on this agenda. It will be on the February agenda.
Now I'll turn it over to public comments. Do we have any public comments not on the agenda? What did I miss? Oh, changes to the order of business. Well, first, before you, do we have any changes to the order of business? Seeing none, please.
Oh, sorry. No, not yet. No worries. Thank you. I'm making public, hoping that you will take into consideration students. I think it's beneficial for all constituencies to have representation during every stage of the upcoming hiring process of the interim chancellor. It seems like these requests from respected faculty and staff have been disregarded so far. I ask that again, the Board of Trustees consider including student trustee Gustavo Castrejon to the interim chancellor search.
Thank you. Okay, quorum, report out of closed session, changes to the order of business. Do we have any other public comments? Very good. Okay, moving on. We're going to go to the action items. Are there any comments on the consent items?
I would just like to make one in reference to the personnel items on 5.6. We have a retirement this evening, and it's customary to acknowledge our hardworking employees, especially our people that have been with us for a long time. And one tonight is Gloria Ramirez, 21 years of service with MJC in the Child Development and Training Consortium as an accounting analyst. You know, we hear about different programs, but obviously our child development program is near and dear to our heart. A lot of training is involved to work in that field. And there's a lot of reporting requirements that go along with our partnership. And I know Gloria had a lot to do with that in her many years of service. And I want to thank her for her years of service and wish her all the best in her retirement. So thank you.
Thank you, Rich. Any trustee want to pull any? Seeing none. Okay, so the recommended action is the Board of Trustees approves actions item 5.2 through 5.7 consent agenda. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Student trustee,
Aye.
please call the roll.
Trustee Aguilar,
Aye.
trustee Davis,
Aye.
trustee Garrett,
Aye.
trustee Hinton,
Aye.
vice president Nicolau,
Aye.
president Richards.
Yes,
It is 6-0.
very good. Okay, moving on, 6.1, CCT Board of Directors nominations. Any nomination? And the Board of Trustees nominates a candidate for the CCT Board of Directors if it's determined there is interest to run for the seat.
I nominate Dr. Milton Richards.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Student trustee,
Aye.
please call the roll.
Trustee Hinton, trustee Davis,
Aye.
trustee Garrett,
Aye.
vice president Nicolau,
Yes.
president Richards,
Yes,
trustee Aguilar.
Aye.
I believe I saw her mouth yes, so
very good.
I will
Okay.
verify these votes.
Moving on to 6.2, Personnel Negotiations, CSEA, YCCD Public Hearing on Proposal Reopeners. The recommended action is that the Board of Trustees hold a public comment period regarding the bargaining proposal reopeners submitted by CSEA Chapter 420 in the district. Approve the district reopeners attached to the January 8th, 2025 agenda. A motion to approve? Oh, so with that, I'll hold the public hearing. Does anybody have any comment on this? Seeing none, I'll bring it back for a motion.
So moved.
Trustee Garrett.
Second.
Please call the roll.
Trustee Hinton,
Wait, can we get an advisory
Oh,
from?
I thought I was going to get it right every time.
Person of the year.
Very
Aye.
good.
trustee Hinton,
Aye.
president Nicolau,
Yes.
president Richards.
Yes,
Trustee Aguilar.
Aye.
Davis.
Aye.
Trustee Garrett.
Aye.
The vote is unanimous. Motion carries.
okay, now we're on to board committee reports. My understanding is nobody has anything to report this time. So we will move on. So now we're up to item 8. We have a presentation from MJC School of Industry and Trades, which, by the way, we as trustees were very fortunate to get a tour of everything. We do a lot of good stuff. Pretty good. We need to get them a bigger building, though. Antonio's working on that. Please.
I'm bringing it.
So we have a PowerPoint that I created today. Being a teacher, I had a PowerPoint of 20 slides, but we had to narrow it down to quite a few. So I think a lot of the material that we did already, that you are familiar with today with the tour. But what I just wanted to do as we kind of start here. What happens in the classroom often where we have technical difficulties. Oh, great. So I just wanted to say, as well as interim dean this first year, it has been an honor for me to be the interim dean. A little bit of my background was that I'm a farm kid, but also worked at Hershey's when I was growing up on the assembly line. I learned to weld when I was in 8th grade as a Houston child, but also I've studied a lot of industry and local economic development as a geographer. One of my theses was looking at the nut companies and why they grew here in the Stanislaus County. So it's been a real joy to kind of connect all the people I know with the industry and trades and represent them in that way as well. So what we offer here is our classes offer marketable job skills. So you only have to take a class and get back out into the work environment. Like you could take welding, and as you take welding, then we've had studies that show your pay is going to increase by $10 an hour just by that one class. So we create career training certificates, 1 and 2 year programs, but often it can be a cluster, like for auto body, of 3 classes that you can get into the workforce, or 5 classes in LTAC and start working as electrician. So we have educational support for apprentices. So our industry partners hire people and they want to train them, and they come into us at MJC to train those, their employees. We have courses taught by faculty with industry experience. This has been a really difficult push right now with us in the county, because as we sit on, many of us in here sit on Stanislaus 2030, and there are a lot of people that would say to me, well, your faculty need to take a sabbatical and come work for us because they have no industry experience. I'm like, I'm sorry. You need to check out our MJC, and I've encouraged the faculty to put their profiles out that say their industrial experience, because we have very well experienced faculty, 20, 30 years of experience that are teaching our classes. We have to somehow get that across to the community of just how skilled our faculty are. And many of them take a huge cut in their pay to come back and teach at our level. You know, their industries pay a lot of money for what they do. So it's really courses I've found with all these guys. They teach from the heart. They love being in the classroom. They love their students. So our job is to prepare students for competitive wages out in Stanislaus County. And the focus is on certificates, not an AS. And that's been really difficult for us to get across to the counselors in our community, or some of the teachers as well. Does not require an associate's degree. That's the only thing I had animated, so don't feel I'm going to take too long that way. So this is from the 2030 plan. So the blueprint for Stanislaus County from 2030 was prepared by the Brookings Institute, which is out of New York. Okay, really good think tank. And what they showed was the manufacturing job openings for us, and you can see it's going to grow radically. So that's a big deal as we start stepping forward and looking at what we need to train our students for existing jobs in the future. I'll just go through our 5 areas and introduce the faculty here as well. So auto tech, we have Gerald Ray that you met this afternoon. We have a new program we're offering on electric vehicles. That's where John Davis is off being trained on more electric vehicles. After 16 courses, 5 certificates, an AS degree. We have 1 community college, right, Rio Honda, that offers a BS in auto. So that may be someplace we move forward to in the future. And they serve over 500 students per year. Great program. Auto body and collision, we offer 5 courses. Jeff Beebe cannot be here today. He had a family emergency. He left to Minnesota. I don't think anyone goes to Minnesota in January for any other reason. He'll be back on Friday. But 2 certificates, an AS degree, that's where they have 3 classes in auto body collision and gives them a certificate. 90 students per year, just 1 instructor, and he's working with the car club, Modesto High School. Eric Silva is here. You can wave your hand, Eric. He's a machine tool technology instructor, 10 courses. He just added 3 new classes in manufacturing. That's for the industrial robots that you saw. 7 certificates, an AS degree, new certificate in manufacturing for industrial robots, 150 students per year. And he's also the co-advisor with the engineering club. So he's working in tangent with an academic program, giving them hands-on skills, which is fantastic. Industrial electronics, Adrian DeAngelis, Michael Ryan, and John Coate, 2 of which are here, John and Adrian. And they offer 17 classes, 6 certificates, 2 AS degrees, 500 students each year. Adrian spent a lot of time this last year stacking courses so that each certificate led into each other and kind of nestled together to create a really good AS degree at the end of the process. So all of these guys, we have a small number of faculty, but the burden of certificates and curriculum and program review still holds on to their responsibilities. And then welding and sheet metal technologies, 6 classes in welding, 2 classes in sheet metal, 5 certificates, an AS degree, 500 students per year. And the instructors are Manuel Cunha and Eric Turner, also in the audience here, and work with the MEETS program. That's with Elliott Alternative School that we had. We also have, we talked a little bit about today, the industry apprenticeships. We work at the Stanislaus County Manufacturing and Machining Area Apprenticeship Committee, their big name. And so that's attempted to be a group of industry that works together to facilitate the state apprenticeship. I love this group. They meet at the Old Mill Cafe on the first Friday every month. I really try not to miss with them. And it's being there and being present that makes the difference in the relationship. So they actually invited me to organize their apprenticeship expo, which they hold on our campus, but we're kind of not really part of that. And so as I was riding down the elevator with them, they said, hey, thanks for being there. I go, that's my job to show up each time. And so industry really sees when we're present and we're willing to shake hands. It's really 2 degrees of separation around here to show that you care. I love, my grandfather started Modesto Machine Works in 1928. It's one of the reasons why I took this position and I care about industry. I actually got to go through the shop. As a girl in my family, I wasn't allowed to go through the machine shop because it was male words that were used in the machine shop. And so it was a blast. I saw a picture of my cousin at 5 tooling on the window because the owner, he's 85, George Cattell. He bought the company from my grandfather. So it's nice to see, you can see here, even with the nut companies, Sunoco, we have a large relationship with them. John Coate used to work for Hilmar Cheese. They're coming into that program as well. We have an opportunity right now with our relationships to go into industry and train on their facilities. So we're working with the workforce development to create maybe a 1-unit class where we can go in and train in their facilities. It will cost them less as well. So we have tremendous opportunities ahead. So as I've been promoting these programs, starting incomes in these areas are fantastic. And this is without a degree, correct? So whether it's machine tooling, industrial electronics, electricians, welding, auto technician, all very solid jobs for our students to work in our community. So this is my last slide here. I just want to thank you guys for the opportunity to be the interim dean of industry and trades. They are the solid earth of this community college. These guys put their heart and soul into their programs. They're here for the students and all the right things. It's really been an honor to help be their leader this year. So I kind of give you guys time to open it up if you have any questions of me.
Could you please introduce your team that's here?
Sure. So if you guys stand up, I have in this 3rd row here, I have John Coate, and he's industrial electronics, and Adrian DeAngelis. Adrian's been here almost as long as I've been. And then we have on the back is Eric Turner, who's welding and technologies, Manuel Cunha, who's welding, Jerry Ray, who's auto, Eric Silva, who is machine tooling, and Macario, who is our behind the scenes coordinator for everything in our programs. He kind of runs everything.
Thank you very much. Questions, comments from the board? Antonio,
Can I go first?
you can go first.
It's been an honor to meet you all today. Thank you for your time. We really support, we love what you do. These pathways, these careers have an impact in people's lives. I know what you're doing makes a difference, not just for those individuals, but for our community. So I just want to commend you. Thank you so much. And then I had one clarifying question on the job demand slide.
Okay.
Can you just, I think I heard it, but can you clarify the region? It's just Stanislaus?
County. This was, the research was done for the 2030, Stanislaus 2030.
Yep.
And it was a blueprint for Stanislaus County. If you go to their website, it's extensive. And this is just one slide in that. So the region was Stanislaus County.
Perfect. Thank you for confirming. On to you.
Trustee Aguilar?
No, thank you. I mean, I've been talking about this for a long time, and I really appreciate all of you guys and what you do and what a difference means to our students and our community for them to get a career and a job, and I appreciate everything you guys do.
Any other comments?
Guys,
Uh,
you all taking your time today to give us this tour. And one thing I think that struck us was just how much pride each of you have in your programs and in your students. That really came through to us as you told the stories and how kids are going on and all that you're doing to educate them and give them, the tools they need to go on into the workforce and into industry. And quite impressive. And some of the thing, I don't know if the audience is here, I mean, cutting edge technologies that we are involved in here, and just very impressed today. Thank you for your time.
Yes, thank you. When I was walking around back there this afternoon, I remembered and I talked to Jerry about it. There was a class that used to be taught here years ago, and it was I think community ed based. It was automotive upholstery, and my dad took that class and redid the seats for one of the old cars that I have now. So it was very interesting tie back to the program. So thank you all very much.
We're excited for the future if there is a possibility of a new building. The last bond, these guys kind of got ignored. But
If you don't retire.
No, I gotta retire. But if we can grow into new buildings, we can bring things like that back and maybe even extend to stuff like HVAC. My air conditioning went out last summer, and I asked my HVAC guy where he was trained, and he said in Ripon for $28,000. So we have a lot of programs we could build and grow into our vocational and CTE programs. A lot of opportunity.
Thank you very much. Okay, moving on to 8.2, we're going to have a presentation on college level transfer data trends. That's a mouthful.
Hi there. Just waiting to get the
Give
patient.
me a moment. Thank you.
You might introduce your team before she's pulling it up.
Yeah, I'm Katerina Grassi, the Director of College Research and Planning at MJC. I'm the one giving the presentation today, but I do have Amanda Cannon, who is the Senior Research Analyst, one of them here, and the other team member who isn't here tonight is Ryan Tennis, and he's another Senior Research Analyst for MJC.
Very good.
Thanks for your patience. I'm just downloading it from my desktop.
Are we able to get it? Why don't you go ahead and start while she's trying. No, you
I
can't.
think she needs the info.
Okay,
So,
Kind of graphs.
okay, that's fine. These things happen.
And that was my error, so I apologize for your.
No
for
worries.
your patience. Here we go.
Should we move on and give you time?
No, I'm just need to share the screen now. And you have the clicker?
Yes.
Yes. Thank you.
So we are going to be talking about not just transfer, but overall outcomes, what our students are doing 6 years later after they start at MJC. The inspiration for this methodology came from the Community College Research Center, who is a national research body out of Columbia University that focuses solely on community college research. They did a study recently that focused on tracking students through a core curriculum progression, but they had similar outcome measures that tied well with this. And so because of that, we are focusing on their methodology, but with our transfer spin. We selected a 6-year cohort, so whoever transfers within 6 years, basically. The study focuses on students that were a first-time student as of fall 2018. So that way we don't have any anomalies such as students that were transferring in from another community college or students that left and then came back a couple years later and all of that. Everybody's first time ever. And they have to have at least been enrolled in the fall semester through census. So they would have received a W on their transcript at the very least. And that cohort size ended up being about 1,959 students. So the outcomes we are considering, there are 7 of them. Students were placed into their highest achieved outcome to allow for unduplication of the students. So in theory, if a student graduated with a degree but also transferred, then they would be in that transferred category, not the graduated with a degree category. The categories that we're going to be looking at are unknown, which means that they have no National Student Clearinghouse record due to a privacy opt-out, or they stopped out and dropped out of MJC. There was other options such as enrolling in a different community college or enrolling in a trade school. There's also currently enrolled at MJC 6 years later, yes. Graduated with a certificate but didn't transfer, graduated with a degree but didn't transfer, and transferred to a 4-year university. These are, I know the numbers are kind of tiny up there, but these are the 6-year outcomes for the fall 2018 cohort. As you can see, in the legend, the boxes kind of transfer, they're vertical in the same format as that. So the transfer rate is about 16.61% overall for this cohort. For graduated with a degree but didn't transfer, we're sitting at about 4%. However, it is important to keep in mind that some of those students might be up in the transferred because they graduated with a degree and then also transferred. So that could account for that number being 3% as opposed to our normal 10 or so percent that we are used to seeing. Same thing with certificates, we're at about 4%. Currently enrolled at MJC, we have about 6% of our students currently enrolled. In other words, enrolling in a different community college or a trade school, we have about 11%. And our largest group is our stopped out, dropped out. So out of first-time freshmen who started in fall 2018, about 56% of those students stopped out or dropped out before completing any of these other things. And then finally, we have about 3% that are unknown. Given the transfer and the stopped out, dropped out chunks, we wanted to take a deeper dive into what could be accounting for the stopped out, dropped out, and also where our students are transferring to. So we did some preliminary research and identified that there's some trends that are happening statewide and nationally that identified the different disaggregations that we were going to look at. The first one is ethnicity, and the second one is subject area. So we're first going to review ethnicity. And here we looked at any ethnicity category that had over 10 students. And we also excluded unknown students because it's kind of hard to get a good picture there. So we have African American on the far left, and then Asian, Filipino, Latinx, Pacific Islander, and then white. As you can see, with the exception of Filipino students, it tends to be pretty consistent across the board. The anomaly of the Filipino students could also be that there's 21 in that box. So that could account for that different variation compared to what you were seeing in the other subcategories. And so because we noticed that the stopped out, dropped out rate and the transfer rates were pretty consistent, ethnicity-wise, we took a different approach and wanted to look at the different subject areas to see if maybe program areas had an impact on transfer versus stopping out versus graduating. And so this next slide here looks at 6-year outcomes by academic program area. On the far left, we have CTE, then we have general education, other programs, and then STEM. As you can see here, the larger chunks for stopped out, dropped out tend to be in CTE and general ed. The reason that we believe can account for the CTE large chunk is that we aren't able to identify whether or not students left because they got a job in their field of study. So that could be accounting for the large number of the overall proportion, and also specifically for CTE, considering, like CC was saying, you go to learn a skill and then you go to get a job. The certificate doesn't necessarily come along with that. And so where are students transferring? Over half of fall 2018 cohorts, students transferred to a CSU. The top 3 CSUs were Stanislaus, Sacramento, and Fresno. And the top 5 transfer schools overall were Stanislaus, Sacramento, Arizona State University, UC Merced, and then CSU Fresno. When you look at the pie chart on the right, it kind of just gives you a breakdown of the proportion of students transferring based off of the type of four-year institution. So we have 60% of CSUs, and we have about 5.7% of fully online universities that they transfer to, as well as about 21.9% that are transferring to out-of-state universities. So some takeaway points here. The first is that MJC's transferred within 6 years rate is 16.6%, which isn't too bad, given that at the start of the fall 2018 semester, 41.4% of the cohort had an educational goal of transferring. And the reason that we used the entire cohort as opposed to just cohorts with transfer intentions is that educational goal data isn't always updated along the student's career path. And so we wanted to ensure that all students were considered who may want to transfer but didn't necessarily put that down in their application. So improving accuracy and currency of the educational goal data may help for the future in identifying and effectively targeting students who do intend to transfer, to kind of get a better picture of what the actual percentage of students that want to transfer actually do. The second takeaway point is that CTE programs had the lowest transfer rate and highest dropped out, stopped out rate. However, the lack of access to student level data on whether these students have obtained a job in their field of study does have a big impact on those numbers. It's not on the slide because it's in the works, and I don't want to put something on there that may not happen, but we are currently, our office is currently working with the EDD to come up with a data sharing agreement to potentially get some of that information, although that's still very preliminary. So hopefully we'll be able to have that number shrink in the future. Another thing that could potentially address this high stopped out, dropped out rate is the thing that Brian has talked an awful lot about, of micro and stacked credentials that might help students who are just getting that one class or those 2 classes for a specific skill. And it might help us identify those who are enrolling to increase their skill set and then exiting to get a job in their field of study, as opposed to going on to a full certificate or a full degree. And the last takeaway point is that over half of our students who transferred furthered their education at a CSU, with the majority of those students transferring to CSU Stanislaus. Because of this, it's important to look to review and increase our articulation agreements between CSU Stanislaus and other CSUs to assist students in their transfer journey, and to make sure that we align our programs with the programs that are being offered at these CSUs, so that way there is a more seamless transition for students, as opposed to going this way and then the CSUs over here. So those are the main 3 takeaway points. Are there any questions?
Thank you for your presentation. I have a question and a comment. Within the graph about, it's a CTE, I took a picture. Yes. Is ag within that CTE column, or do they fall within the other programs column?
Ag is within the CTE program. So the way it works on the back end is, if a program is flagged as vocational, then they fall into that CTE program. And that goes beyond just the schools. So for example, there are some child development programs that fall under CTE, even though their school technically isn't a CTE school.
Sure, thank you for that. I just want to go on record that those numbers don't bother me for CTE, especially after what we've learned today and the information that CC provided, looking at the ages of the students and knowing from the stories today that oftentimes folks will have full-time jobs. They'll come into advanced a skill or a trade, and they only need one class, but they already have the career. Now, that may not be the story for everyone, but I just want to acknowledge that that doesn't concern me because to me, that means we are serving people when and how they need to be served. Success does not always equate to a degree or a certificate or a transferring to a CSU. So I just want to go on record that I'm a firm believer of that. Thank you.
Any other comments or questions? Trustee Davis?
Thank you for the work that you did here and all this information. I think that what might help a little bit for us is some context with how does this compare maybe to statewide averages? How does it compare to maybe other community colleges? So you have, oh, and now I see some context with here because otherwise, it's just us looking at us. And also as we look at 2018, and then maybe next year 2019, and then at 2020, and we get some years put together, we can see perhaps trends. But that gives us, context. We can begin to put some meaning behind it, and then how are we doing maybe comparable to other institutions. Appreciate this. With regards to the CTE stopped out, dropped out too, I'm just wondering if there can be the numbers were pretty high, but sometimes I know we did this with Perkins back in the day. We had to reach out and actually make a phone call, and get like a little questionnaire. If people wanted to respond voluntarily, I did this or that. That can maybe be another, but that's, takes manpower obviously to do that. But again, it could provide some help.
State Chancellor's Office does a CTEOS survey, which does actually do that. The problem with that is that the percentage response rate is like very minimal. We're looking at 200 students out of all of the students that we serve for CTE. So that's why we're kind of trying the approach of looking at other avenues for getting that type of job data.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Thank you so much. Okay, now we'll move on to 8.3 association reports. Oh, all right. I'm sorry. I thought
Don't want to overlook Columbia.
it wasn't just me. People thought we were done.
Good evening. I'm Melissa Raby, Vice President of Student Service at Columbia College. And I
Welcome.
will be going over this very similar data. The only caveat that we did different from the methodology that MJC produced is that we combined semesters because our numbers are so low. It's really hard for us to look at one interim point and have it meaningful when you start breaking it down into the smaller groups of ethnicity, et cetera. So our data points are any student that started in between fall 2013 and fall 2018. We combine those numbers to give you these results that I'm going to go over. So for the overall transfer rate, you can see that it's been fairly steady over the years with a slight increase in the last couple of years. And we're very proud of these numbers. As you can see that these students, and I want to point out that these students started pre-pandemic. And I think as we continue to look at future data, we're going to see some very different results because we've been doing some very targeted work lately. So we're hopeful that these numbers will actually go up, because 6 years ago is a long time when you're talking about targeted activities for these specific groups. But as you can see, we're still at 30-something% of students who are graduating and transferring. And again, it's the same methodology that these students may not have intended to want to graduate or transfer when they signed up. They may have signed up to take 1 or 2 classes and then move on. So that's very important to note as well. By ethnicity, we're looking at very similar results. Our Asian groups are doing the very best. And you can see that our Native American and our Hispanic students are under the overall average. And the last student equity plan that we developed have specific activities that we really targeted those 2 groups in particular. And we have really seen an increase in the last year or 2 on the development of those 2 populations. And so moving forward into the next student equity plan, which you guys will see next fall, because both colleges are developing those right now, you'll see some significant differences and increases in those populations. We also took a look at some different kinds of specifics. And I know this is a lot of data, but I'm just going to point out a couple of things. As you see from the left to right, we've kind of grouped things into either they're 19 and younger or they're 20 plus. They're either non-first generation or first generation, et cetera, going forward. I do want to point out, as you can see, the prior dual enrollment students versus the non-prior dual enrollment students, there's a very significant difference in the success rates on those students. So this is why we have at Columbia focused very heavily on our dual enrollment programs and our CCAP programs, because we know, based on the data, that these students are more successful when they do end up coming to us after their high school graduations. Also, you can see that full-time students versus part-time students do much better in terms of completion and transfer. And so we do a lot on identifying students who are taking less than a full-time load and really trying to bring them in and work with them. Our students are, they have a lot of varieties in their life. They're working, they have families, they have this or that. And so a lot of them cannot take full-time work, but we have incentives in place in terms of financial aid, emergency financial grants, basic needs grants, everything that we're trying to incentivize students to take a full load, because we know that they're going to be more successful when they do. So those are some of the efforts that we're working in that realm. In terms of program areas, again, very similar results than what MJC just shared. CTE, same thing, there's less, but that makes sense because a lot of our CTE students are not ever intending to transfer. They can go out and get a very livable wage right after their graduation from CTE. The one thing I want to point out here is the undecided students. So we know that our undecided students that come to us and they just really don't have a pathway that they're following, they're just a little bit, I have no idea what I'm going to do, those students are not successful. So we really try to target those students within their first semester. If they haven't declared a major and completed their educational plan, we really try to get them in and work with a counselor and really try to give them some assessments and identify, what is it that they want to do. Even if they change their mind, which many students do, at least they have a goal, a particular pathway that they're working towards. And that will ensure that they're a lot more successful than just, I don't know what I'm doing, I'm going to take some classes and then we'll see where we go. And again, very similar to MJC, our two major institutions that our students transfer to are Stanislaus and Sacramento. We do also have a lot of students that will go to Chico and Monterey. And what's really surprising to me is that we have a lot of students that go to out-of-state institutions. And for us in particular, I believe a lot of that is because some of the out-of-state institutions will have online programming. And our students are place-bound and they don't want to travel. Even traveling to Stanislaus is a burden to a lot of students. So they choose these institutions solely because that they can get a complete degree online. And so those are some things. And I'm going to bring up Tisha here in a minute to talk about our transfer program, because she works in our TRIO program. And our TRIO program specifically targets students who are transferring. And they really work on programming that helps that student to get to that transfer goal. And those results are, we have over 70% of those students enrolled in our TRIO Student Success Program that transfer. And over 80% of those students complete their degree and certificate. So you can see that when we have targeted services, that they really make a big difference in the impact of the student success. So I'm going to introduce Tisha right now. Come on up, and I want to thank her for coming tonight. And I know she's nervous, so be kind. But she's going to talk to you about what those specific services are that really make a difference in our student success.
Yeah, one of the things that we have found is that when we actually meet our students where they're at and not expect them to come to us, we have found a huge difference on that. So we're going out and doing transfer takeovers. We're working in collaboration with all of our student services, our instructional side. So we're coming into the classrooms, we're coming out at orientation, we're tabling at every event so that all of our students know that that program is there. So even if they're not sure they want to transfer, now they know that there's a possibility for that. We also make it accessible for them. We're breaking down those barriers and letting them know that education is not that expensive, that we can help them with that financial aid, look at those packages, help them with those scholarships. And so that is actually opening up their eyes and saying, oh, wait, I may be able to do this. And so we're actually seeing those numbers increase drastically. Not only that, we're taking our students to field trips and we're taking them to the campuses, letting them actually explore those campuses. And so those students are now saying, whoa, I didn't know that I could do this, or I had this, you know, stereotype idea of what this campus was going to be like. It's completely different. And so we are also seeing increases in our tags and our applications to the CSUs and UCs because of those experiences. Questions?
Questions? Thank you very much.
Okay.
Now we'll move on to association reports. The first is Leadership Team Advisory Council, LTAC, Samantha McCarty. You were here the earliest.
You're the earliest, yes. Good evening, board members and President Richards. My name is Samantha McCarty, and I am the new president of LTAC.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much. First, I want to acknowledge and thank Dean Laura Mackey for stepping into the role of president for 2024. This year, we would like to continue working with HR to promote professional development and training. And we recently had our nominations. As I said, I was elected as president. And we have Jacqueline Forte continuing as our vice president. Yolanda Paragil will be our treasurer this year. And Kelly Thomas will be our recorder, and she's continuing this year. As part of our nominations, we electing those representatives, we actually had 62% of our members vote, which was very nice to see. We also have had 62% of our membership pay their dues. Although after I sent out an email today, I already got one more person paying those, so that's wonderful. Those dues go towards supporting our student scholarships. So we're hoping to increase that to 100% if possible. This year, we will also be working with HR to update the handbook. And I do have a report from Columbia. They wanted to let us know about the Weeks of Welcome, their WOW committee, that is very excited for Welcome Week this next week. They're hosting a student support fair, student club, and organization fair, and also some CART certification. This concludes the LTAC report, so thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Okay, next, Yosemite Faculty Association, the infamous Brian Green. I don't know.
Infamous. Oh, that's okay. Good evening, trustees, President Richards, and fortunately Chancellor Young, I understand, is not feeling well. I hope he has a speedy recovery. I'm pleased to report that Chancellor Young and I signed the 2023-26 successor contract in December, and it is now posted to the district and YFA websites. In finalizing the contract, we discovered that the class capacity process established in 2019 has not been consistently followed, meaning that we've been unable to validate all of the reported class capacities. YFA is working through the latest batch of documentation from the district and hope most remaining discrepancies will be resolved shortly. Earlier today, YFA hosted a general training on the new contract and union operations. We also hosted a workshop for the part-time faculty regarding the new health benefits reimbursement process. As previously reported, this is a significant benefit for numerous part-time faculty, and I appreciate the efforts of everyone involved in implementing it and cutting the reimbursement checks in the coming months. One hiccup, HR recently notified YFA that the state may not reimburse the district for all of the premium expenses outlined in our agreement. YFA obviously hopes this turns out not to be the case and is working with the district to ensure this program can be successful long-term. You may have heard that a boycott has been announced for Columbia's in-service tomorrow as a follow-up action to the no confidence votes taken by Columbia's academic senates this past fall. YFA is not involved in these efforts, and it's no secret that I personally opposed the no confidence votes, in large part because I believe they were not the appropriate way to address the personnel matters that catalyzed the situation. I've also shared before the board and elsewhere that YFA has a positive and productive relationship with President Tran based on the numerous opportunities we've had to work through various issues together. Setting aside my personal opinion and experience, there is clearly discontent at Columbia, and I urge the district to provide more direct and responsive support to address the concerns. Without a concerted effort by all stakeholders, I fear a healthy resolution will remain elusive. This concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We'll move on to the classified Senate academic reports. Columbia College Senate President Abby Sunday? No? Okay. Is Amanda Cannon here from Modesto Junior College?
Yes.
Welcome.
Good evening. Thank you for having us, Board of Trustees, appreciate that. Today was our classified Senate meeting. So it happened, it was very fortuitous. It was right before the board meeting. So I have something to say now. There are times where we go into these meetings and we kind of wonder, how is this beneficial? I'm sure we all kind of have those meetings that we go to where we wonder, is this worth our time? But today was a very good meeting for us in that there was a large scale sharing at our meeting about the things that are going on around our various areas and in our various capacities. And the reason that is so important is because Caring Campus is going to be providing services on Monday and Tuesday next week for students, especially the students that's their first time on our campus. And one of the things we do is we have 80+ volunteers manning 160 time slots over 2 campuses over 2 days. And it's not just, hi, welcome, here's your building. It's also, I can't find my schedule. I thought it was here and now I'm not registered. Or I need to get on a wait list. I don't know what to do. Or where's financial aid? I didn't get my check yet. All of those things were discussed in our classified Senate meeting today. And the reason that that's important is because as a researcher, I man those tables because it's the only, typically in the term, the only interaction I get with students, and I love it. I wouldn't have known that Pell was just processed until the students, hold on, it's coming. I wouldn't know to say that there were students that were dropped for non-payment that may come to school on Monday or Tuesday, and they don't know that they don't have a class. They're just not checking their emails. They're just not reading their, just whatever, for whatever reason. But now some of the people that man those tables will have that, be armed with that information as well. So it's not just, I'm not sure what's going on. Now it's, let me help. Let me show you to the right person. This is a possible solution. And so I was just reminded today that as a group, Classified Senate supports each other. We are there for each other to share and to just really uphold, and ultimately we're there for the students. And it was just a very gratifying moment. So I just thought I would share that with you.
Thank you so much. Trustee Casterhone, I understand you have a statement for ASI.
So today I'll be doing the report for ASCC on behalf of Tobias. So here's the ASCC board report for this month's board meeting. The ASCC has been busy with lots of planning. Since our last report, we are continuing planning for our spring 2025 survey and have started planning for multiple events taking place during the spring semester, like a Cupid's Bash and the return of the Duck Duck Goose event. We are also creating a Dropbox within the Student Center Ponderosa building where students can communicate with the ASCC if they are unable to attend our meetings. The ASCC hopes everyone had a great winter break and a happy new year.
Thank you very much. Okay, moving on in the chancellor's absence, Columbia College President, Dr. Tran.
There's a few others.
I thought they weren't reporting.
Well, Joanna Romero's,
Oh, she is? Okay, I'm sorry.
no, it's Gianna, okay.
Oh, I'm sorry. I had no report. I'm glad you're here. Thank you. Take your time.
My name is Gianna Smith, speaking today on behalf of ASMJC as the current student body president. I'd like to report a successful conclusion to the fall 2024 semester with our annual Crime Night event. This event took place over 2 days, so we served both East and West campuses. I was very happy to see so much involvement for both days of this event from both the MJC students, but also from so many faculty members and also administrators who participated in this event to aid in student success during finals. I want to personally thank all of these people who helped make this event particularly meaningful to our students. And I also want to recognize all of the hard work of Olga, the director of the Library and Learning Center, and her team for continued collaboration on this successful Crime Night event. ASMJC also went to our annual winter leadership retreat at Camp Connell, so that's why we missed the last board meeting. We were driving up to it's near Calaveras Big Trees. It was nice, you know, it was pretty nice. The drive up there was beautiful, all the trees. It started storming really bad that night, like really, really bad, snow coming down the whole nine, right? And we woke up the next morning with no power, still snowing. So yeah, no lights, we were in the dark, you know, but it was successful nonetheless. You know, we did come back a little bit early once we went 24 hours with no power.
Oh my goodness.
Still, you know, still storming. And so we came back Sunday night instead of heading back on Monday, but still nonetheless, it was a great team bonding experience. I will say that, you know, just being up there in the dark in the middle of nowhere in a cabin. Yeah, it was, yeah, wonderful. So during the fall semester, 3 MJC clubs were ratified by ASMJC. These include the Human Services Club, the Writers Alliance Club, and the Afghan Students Association, bringing MJC to having a total of 29 campus clubs. That was just a little recap of how we ended our fall 2024 semester, since we did miss the last board meeting, but I do want to thank Joanna Romero, for my vice president of ASMJC, for coming here and continuing to give these reports to you guys when I was in microbiology lab every Wednesday night. So thank you to her for that, absolutely. One of the next big events that ASMJC will be heavily involved in will be the annual African American Education Conference that will be next month during Black History Month. I also have a tentative date for the next ASMJC Senator Project, which will be Monday, February 17th. This, I believe, is going to be it's a movie night event put on by Senators Marlene and Leslie. So I'm looking forward to that. And ASMJC has many more student senator projects coming this semester, and I look forward to keeping you guys updated. Thank you.
Very much. Next, we have the California School Employees Association President, Sabino Salas. You were here early too.
Okay. Good evening, President Richards and ladies and gentlemen trustees. Please let me begin my report by saying Happy New Year 2025. My name is Sabino Salas. I am the new president for CSEA Chapter 420.
Congratulations.
Thank you. We are just beginning this spring semester, and we, the classified employees, are excited to start by supporting our students and assisting them in getting ready for the 2025 spring semester when they come to campus to process paperwork and when they look to get familiar with the classrooms and the closest parking lot locations to where they will be taking classes this semester. As you know, classified employees play a pivotal role in the college operations. We are a student's first point of contact, the welcoming face they see when they arrive on campus, and the reassuring voice our students hear when they leave for the day. We take our responsibilities seriously, ensuring we meet and exceed their expectations whenever they use our services. The CSEA leadership, including myself as the president, looks forward to a productive year at the negotiations table in the coming months. As representatives of the classified employees, we're optimistic about the potential for a positive outcome as the districts and CSEA initial proposals are on tonight's agenda. We look forward to your support and understanding in these negotiations as we move forward. With this, I conclude my report.
Thank you very much. Next, Senior Director Pritchard, if you'd give us a quick update on the chancellor search.
Good afternoon. Oh, it's not afternoon. Good evening, Board of Trustees and community. So this is just an update to let you know where we are in the search. It is progressing nicely. We're moving right along. HR has reached out to all constituency groups to request a representative to participate in the chancellor search process. We've reached out to both academic senates, YFA, CSEA, the classified senates, and student trustee, and we are now working with each foundation to get a community member to also participate in the process. And that's all we have now. Once everyone's assembled, more details will come out.
Thank you very much. Now we'll move on to the Chancellor's report. Dr. Tran, Columbia College.
Good evening. Thank you, President Richard, community member, colleagues. So I have one update, but it's going to combine with all the special project initiative and things that has been happening at Columbia College. So to start up 2025, great news for the college. We just received $5.7 million of a federal grant from the Department of Labor. So I shared the press release from the Washington, D.C. to our board trustees. If you take a look at the second page, you'll notice that we are one of 18 colleges in the whole entire United States. And we are one of 3 community colleges out of 116 in the state of California. And on top of that, Columbia received the highest amount award, which is $5.7 million. And that is to say, it took a lot of hard work and time. It actually started 3 years ago when I started at Columbia, and the voice from the community is we need a healthcare pathways. We need to train healthcare so students can get job to serve the region. And at that time, this was the opportunity for us to put in this grant. And as you can see, it took 3 years in order to get this grant. But in the meantime, we were awarded and partnered with our region, the 7th county, and we received the 18.3 millions. So last December, we were able to graduate 65 students in healthcare with their first pinning ceremony in the pathway at no cost, national certification. So now we're leveraging this 5.7 million to build out additional pathways and continue the pathway we have in healthcare. But as you see from our presentation with the transfer rate, the 2 populations that we really need to target and serve is the Hispanics and our Native Americans. And because of our accreditation, we are 23% from HSI recognized institution or allowed to apply for that. And because of that, with this grant, our hope and our commitment is to work with our partners so that we can build out the additional pathways. But with one important turn to this is that we hope to build out a bilingual Spanish CNA, which is the Certified Nursing Assistant. It is the entry-level certificate, and it's also a pathway to MA to nursing if that land. But that is a population that we will serve. And to say the least, we could not do this work without countless of hard work, dedication, and people that really need to be recognized when it starts with this. Starting with this man on my right here. Brian was part of the original grant proposal that we had 2 years ago. Then we have Amy Nilsson and also Emily Graham and our faculty and staff. But we're excited. It is going to be a great year. It's going to be a great time for Columbia. And truly, we're 2%. And I'm looking at Melissa Raby. We've been talking about how student service, how instruction, how every outreach effort. And with this funding will really help us to serve the underrepresented that we put in the deliverables for the grant and our equity reports. So that's my report. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you very much, President Sanders. MJC.
Well, I have a frog in my throat, so apologies. I also apologize for not submitting a written report to you. I have a personal family matter that has kept some things going on. Also, the college has been on holiday, so there hasn't been a whole lot of activity, but some good things are happening. This week, we have Institute Day on Friday. Please come at 10:15. to the MSR building if you'd like to be a part of the program. So it's a typical later time. It's in the West Campus at the MSR building. We are also doing some tours of our agriculture and health professions fields. So if you'd like to augment what we saw today with that, it would be great to have you. Those are earlier in the day, starting at about 8:30. So some things that happened over the break included athletics victories. We have a new first-year coach, Bryce Fantasia, and our men's basketball team is really winning. Solid win over Casunas River, Sacramento City College, and then they faced a challenge against Sierra College and won that one as well. So men's basketball is doing well. Women's basketball team is showing resilience. They started with a loss, but they've got a couple of victories since then, and things are going well. Homecoming is coming on February 13th for basketball, so we invite you to join us then. And we're starting to see our students getting four-year coaches on campus to meet with them about transfer process. And so we think of all the transfer discussion earlier, athletics is a student success initiative. Our students come to us, they're full-time students for 2 years with solid GPAs. They plow through their programs, they do the courses, they pass them, they go on and transfer to their additional eligibility there as juniors and seniors as a university students. In agriculture, some things happened over the break, including some cameras were installed with the help of Vice Chancellor Bogle in the sheep pen area. So we now have 3 cameras. I went over to security and I looked at those personally. It's a really great view watching the sheep move around. And when in the middle of the night,
You can count
campus
it.
dispatcher is sitting there and all of a sudden the alarms are going off because we have all this motion, they'll be able to call our campus security officer who's on duty to stop by there. They'll be able to alert the students in at the ag student housing and then go out and take care of the animals. So we're very excited about that. Also over the break, some MJC students, a group of internship students went to Stewart and Jasper, Woods Transplant Service, Driscoll's Berries over in the Salinas Valley, Farm NG, some advanced technology over there, Church Brothers Farms, Marking, and Tanamura and Antle. They're looking at summer internship opportunities as ag students, as ag business students. That's exciting. Tomorrow morning, Vice President Betancourt, Dean Mike Smitzhammer, and I are going to Sacramento to speak on behalf of MJC with the Accrediting Commission for Community and Junior Colleges. We're going to talk to them about the good things that happened in our site visit and the new standards and how well that worked, and talk to them a little bit about our regular and substantive interaction in our classes and some of the actions that we've taken to improve since that their findings in their visit. And then lastly, really, Foundation Director Emily Lawrence and Deputy Fire Chief Darren Jesberg, who operates our Fire Training Center, have arranged for Save Mart to donate funds and food to support the students in our fire academy. We find that some of the students are showing up with a couple of Uncrustables for the day, and that's not enough calories to make it through the calisthenics in the morning and all the rigors of the academy. So we have connections with our food pantry, but also with now Save Mart's going to be supporting us in that. And then finally, for this year, in our slides on Friday, Institute Day, I'm going to be focusing briefly on our focal points. We're going to be working on our facilities master plan. The visit today to our instructional facilities, thank you all for going. I really enjoyed having you there. Your investment of time is important for us, so thank you. But facilities master plan that comes from that is coming. We're working on safety for our students and employees. We have faculty hiring that's coming along. We have Dean Huddleston who's retiring and leaving us, so we have to replace her, the dean. We're starting a remote work pilot, and we are trying to find ways to grow in our community response in terms of short-term vocational training. So those are the hot things for MJC this term. Thank you.
Good, thank you. Next, we'll have a facility and planning project report from Vice Chancellor Stewart and Director Perigo. Yes.
I forgot one thing. The latest issue of Crop Circles magazine. School letter, and put together by the student.
Yeah, I'm just gonna read.
I know, right? That's pretty cool.
Good evening, Board of Trustees. Trevor Stewart, Vice Chancellor, District Administrative Services, also presenting with Yolanda Paragill, the Senior Director of Facilities, Planning, Maintenance, and Transportation. Over the last several years, the Board of Trustees, through the budget development process has allowed us to build into the budget specific dollars relating to tackling projects that might not be able to be funded with state deferred maintenance dollars. As we're all aware, we have fully expended our bond dollars. So during the 22-23 fiscal year, utilizing one-time reserves, we were able to identify critically needed projects. And in that year, we were able to set aside $10 million to tackle those types of projects. So without reading through the projects, you can see on the screen what has been completed and what is still in the planning process. But each project does take time. Many of them require Department of State architect approval. And so there is a lot of work to go from the start of an idea to the completion of a project. On top of some of the one-time funds, and we have another slide with more one-time funds, we built into the budget the idea of total cost of ownership, where each year $1 million has been allocated in the budget. And over the next couple of slides, I believe we show a couple of projects, both for Columbia and Modesto Junior College. And we do continue to spend these quickly. And although they're not zeroed out yet, they're not far from being zeroed out at any given time. Unfortunately, the state has not been funding the deferred maintenance dollars in the last couple of budgets. And so we do appreciate the opportunity to have these total cost of ownership dollars. And as we do develop the 25-26 budget, if there is availability, I might make recommendations that we continue to fund some of these critically needed projects.
As I updated at the last board meeting regarding the gas line, West Campus gas line project, that was a success. We were able to make some engineering changes that allowed us to reduce the amount of piping. We took Sierra and Yosemite Hall and we added them to the newer side of the campus, which reduced the amount of pipe. And we also worked with our contractor to reduce the amount of concrete and reduce the pathways, so that we did have significant savings with that project. And the gas line is up and running and everything is functioning as designed.
So the next couple of slides talk about some projects that have already been identified, and we've already set aside dollars to fund these projects, but unfortunately there's not enough money. And so what facilities does time and time again, where they can utilize cost savings in one project, they shift those dollars to another project. So for the Columbia College Student Housing, we did allocate $2 million to assist with providing Columbia College with student housing that met ADA requirements and also provided them with some new furniture. Unfortunately, as we continue to move this project along as it relates to ADA, our architects have presented us with ADA upgrade construction estimate closer to $4 million. And it's not required that we do all that work at once. And so we are evaluating delaying some upgrades to remain within the available funds that we've been able to identify. So we will be making improvements as necessary, but we won't be making all the improvements at once until we can identify additional resources to complete the construction.
Stadium press box, that was a unique project, and there was a lot of engineering work that went into meeting DSA's requirements. There were 2 DSA pre-submission meetings, and we are building a new press box on top of a 1949 structure. And so we had to address DSA's standards as it relates to structural, seismic, and wind load requirements and ADA. And we think we've achieved all of that through engineering and design. And we will be sharing that with the college But as we anticipated, addressing those needs did require more structural work, more concrete work, and more engineering to address DSA's concerns. And we are at a point where we could submit to DSA. We are going to be utilizing other project savings. I think the savings from the gas line will help us achieve the funding that we need for this project. So this has not been shared with the college yet. The board is the first to see this slide. And of course, we're on target with the ADA ramps. Some of these have been ready to go. A lot of the projects that you see that are not completed yet, you will see that they have summer 2025 or summer 2026. And that's simply because that is the time that we can take these facilities down. And we are ready to go. Our bidding schedule is ready, and we are ready to go to bid this. And we have a construction start date of the day after graduation. So we will be replacing the ramp at the library. I have requested a temporary ramp be installed because there are no other access points for mobility impaired students or staff. So we'll have a temporary ramp placed at the library. We will be adding a new ramp to the student center. They currently have other ramps. The slopes are just a little steeper. And then we will be replacing the ramp between Founders and Forum, and there are other access points for those buildings. The library is the only one where we need a temporary ramp, but we are going to be ready to go the day after graduation. There will be a lot of demo work. It will be very noisy, and yeah, these are all within the same area, so we're ready to move that one forward.
And to wrap up, as President Sanders indicated, we are working on the facility master plans. I was a part of a meeting with Columbia College today to make sure that they're on track as well. Those meetings not only include conversations with leadership teams at each college, it includes the faculty who are in the program, so we can hear from them what is necessary for them to do what they do in the classroom. And so I think that the FMP process may be able to be wrapped up by the end of the spring semester. And so over the next year, we expect to bring you more information as it relates to facility needs. Any questions?
Thank you.
Thank you. I know we've been on the stadium for a long time, but it looks good. Good job on that. I know it's hopefully next year, you said,
Yes, we've already reserved the stadium for summer 2026 as a placeholder.
Very good.
Right, Sam? Okay.
yes. All right.
Okay, 8.5, the travel report is informational only. Now we'll move on to 9.1. Any requests for future agenda items by any of my fellow trustees? Looking left, looking right, not seeing any. Any comments? Looking left and right. Trustee Garrett.
No, the only comment I have is thank you all for being here, and I wish you all the best as we start a new year and a new spring semester, and just all the success. So thank you all very much.
You guys around? Anything?
Same thing. I look forward to the spring semester, this being my last semester, but I also look forward to, seeing what's left that I can do in terms of supporting both MGC and Columbia students. That's it. And Happy New Year's as well to everybody.
Trustee Davis? Trustee Aguilar?
Trustee Hinton? I don't know.
Yes, I'd like to.
Nancy,
Can you hear me? Yeah, I just like to say thank
Nancy,
you
please
for,
unmute yourself.
I'm not muted. I might be muted by the host.
Go ahead, Nancy.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, I just want to say thank you for bearing with me these last few months. And I look forward to continuing to serve and to get back on my feet, which is a difficult thing to be off of for so long. And I just think that the college with the CTEs and the other programs is on the right track, and that I believe that 2025 is going to be a great year. And I look forward to serving the students and the presidents and the college in any way that I can. And Happy New Year.
Thank you very much. Okay, the next regular meeting of the Board of Trustees will be held, please note, Thursday, February 13th, 2025. Closed session will begin at 3 and open session at 5:30 in the Assembly Community College District Boardroom, 2201 Blue Gum Avenue, Modesto, California. With that, we're adjourned.